everybody. It's day 6 of 5 Factors Virtual 5K Race Week. I am Ann Corpus, Annual Giving Manager, and this is Claire Veazey, Development Director. And we are here with Chef Kristin McCarthy, who is not only a wonderful, amazing chef, but she is a PCA NC supporter and a CrossFit machine, which we will get into later because I'm so fascinated. But anyway, she's here to demonstrate how to make one of her favorite dishes, which is pretzel chicken and macaroni and cheese. So thank you, Kristin, so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be here.
And Kristin also is chef for the Kappa Deltas at UNC Chapel Hill, and the Kappa Deltas are a huge philanthropic partner of PCA-NC and PCA America at the national level. So we're tied to Kristin in many ways, and she supports us in many ways. We're grateful. So pretzel chicken, welcome.
Here we go. Thank you so much for letting me be here. I am very excited. This dish is a Kappa Delta favorite. Like they said, I work for a sorority house on campus. So I cook for about 150 women a day, 2 meals a day. We do continental style and then lunch and dinner. This is a big fan favorite. We had this dinner tonight so that I had all the ingredients ready for you guys, but we're gonna go through it a little bit. The first thing I want you to do is preheat your oven for 350. So that's nice and hot by the time we get there. I have my oven on and ready to go, so I will leave that be, but that will be your first thing you want to do is make sure that your oven's nice and hot. So preheat that for 350. Then we are going to take our chicken and get that ready. I'm using chicken breast, and I'm using a 5-ounce chicken breast. You can use any type of chicken you like. You can do chicken tenderloins. You could do a bigger chicken breast. But if you're using a bigger one, make sure you're slicing it so it's a little bit more easier to cook and doesn't take as long. The pretzels seem to get a little bit dry and will burn if they cook too long. But this is a 5-ounce chicken breast. I'm going to put them in a bowl, and we are going to add a quick little marinade and a quick little coating so that when we get the pretzels, we can coat them. I'm just going to use a little bit of the Dijon mustard. We will come back to that Dijon for the honey mustard sauce. A little olive oil. I'm pretty sure I wrote all the actual ingredients down and the amounts. I'm going to eyeball it, but there are certainly measurements. This is a salt and pepper blend. I'm just going to put a little seasoning on that chicken. No one likes bland chicken.
Kristin was just telling us that she has been in this role for 16 years. That's correct?
16 years.
So she can eyeball a pretzel chicken.
Like nobody. Like nobody, right. So the second step, you're going to put that aside and just let that sit for a few minutes. Second step is that you're going to get those pretzels nice and chopped up. I have these in a bag. That's what that rolling pin on the menu, on the recipe is all about, and you're going to pound it out. I'm not going to pound it out too bad because that sounds really bad in the microphone, because the art of TV, I have already got it done. But you want to pound it out so it's nice and thin to make a breadcrumb type consistency. I don't pound it so it's real fine. I make sure that there's pieces in there so that when you do cook it, it crisps up and it's got that nice malty flavor of a good pretzel. I just use a generic pretzel. You can use a gluten-free pretzel. You can use any kind of pretzel you want. I like the little gems the best. I think those crunch up the best, but you can certainly use whatever you have in the house. So,
Kristin, I have a question about the chicken.
Yes.
Do you pound your chicken? What's your philosophy on pounding chicken?
So I don't pound the chicken because it's a 5-ounce portion, but if it's a bigger piece, then I would say pound it out a little bit. So that it cooks evenly. So like these are pretty thin. But if you're buying some of the bulk, you know, a lot of times you'll buy the chicken that's the big, like random sizes. I would definitely say cut those in half and use that, get 2 pieces out of it. They're like 10-ounce pieces. And that's, you know, a lot of times people will buy those big bulk packs and definitely take those out of there and just slice them and cut them into smaller pieces. You can cut them into tenderloins too. The kids would probably even like them as chicken nuggets or something like that. You can do it in all kinds of different sizes. I like the breast because it's just easier to coat and go. But if you have small kids, and this is one way of getting them to eat a healthier kind of like chicken nugget, definitely cut it up in smaller pieces and go. And you don't even have to use chicken breast. You can use thighs. You can use whatever you find. So after you do this, the chicken's been coated. And like I don't coat it in anything else. It's just that mustard and a little bit of olive oil, a little salt and pepper. And I just pat it in and get it nice and coated so that it's really just coated all the way. And put it on a sheet pan that I've sprayed with some Pam or some pan spray. This is super easy. This is one of the easiest dishes. I mean, everyone really likes it, and it's always kind of a big showstopper, especially if you're just starting to learn to cook. It's a really easy one to kind of start on your own. And I just think, like, most kids love it. I do sometimes do a family dinner for charity, and this is one of the ones we do because it's so kid friendly. And the kids just really love it comes with mac and cheese and green beans.
Oh yeah. It hits all the right notes.
It hits all the right notes. So after you're done, then your chicken's gonna look like this. You're gonna lay it out on that sheet pan or some kind of baking dish, and you're gonna throw it in that oven. That oven should be 350 by now. And we're gonna let that cook for a few minutes. I'm gonna wash my hands off just real quick. I meant to use a glove.
So I love, Kristin, that is something that everybody's going to love, but it's not so difficult that when you're starting to think about what am I going to make for dinner at 5:30, you've got a plan and it's easy to do.
Right. And I think most families want to eat a lot of chicken. It's a cheap meat to eat. It's easily to get in stores. But we get stuck and we're like, what can we make with it? And I just one day was like, I had these things laying around and I was like, how can I make a healthy fried chicken? Which is kind of how it started for me. Instead of using breadcrumbs, I'm not a big breadcrumb fan. And this is what I came up with. And then I've started seeing it more often. I was like, did they get this idea from Kappa Delta? I'm not sure. So after it's in the oven, you have that cooking, you're going to start with the sauce. And the sauce is what makes this dish delicious. A honey mustard sauce is really easy to make. I prefer this over the store-bought brands. You can certainly use a Ken's or any kind of like one that your kids love. But this is one that I prefer. And where are my spits? There they are. Just because it's super easy, and usually you always have this in your house. If you don't carry Dijon mustard in your kitchen, then this would be the only time that you would use it, kind of thing. But you're going to start with some mayonnaise. And it sounds weird because mayonnaise, you're like, ew, why would I put mayonnaise in it? But the mayonnaise makes it really creamy, and it takes some of the bite from the Dijon mustard out. So I have about 1/4 cup of mayonnaise. I use a little bit more of the Dijon mustard because I like it a little spicy, but you just have to kind of play with it a little bit. I think this is about 1/4 cup of Dijon mustard. And you're going to mix that together. The Dijon mustard that I use is a smooth French Dijon mustard it has a little bit of white wine. But you can use a Grey Poupon or store brand. It doesn't have to be a brand. And then some honey.
Oh.
I mean, that's where the honey mustard comes from. I use a local brand honey mustard, but you can use any kind of honey you have. And then you just mix it together. You might want to add more honey if you like it sweeter. But if you go straight without that mayonnaise, you're going to have a spicier honey mustard. And if you put that mayonnaise in, it's going to give this nice creamy texture to it, and it's going to take the bite away.
It looks delicious. Now, do you heat that up? Will it be heated, or do you serve it room temperature?
Serve at room temperature. You do not need to heat it up.
And so I'm curious, I have a couple questions about cooking
Okay.
for that many people, for that many women. How long on average does it take you to make a dinner for the women at Kappa Delta, or a meal in general?
So lunchtime goes till about 1:30, and that's when my guys leave at 1:30. And at that point, that's when I come into the kitchen, because it's a really kind of chaos for lunch. I come in around 1:30, 2 o'clock, and start prepping and getting dinner ready. It usually takes me about 2 hours, 2.5 hours. This depends on what the meal is, and how many people. So tonight's dinner was for almost 100, so it took me a little bit longer. Right now during COVID, it's completely different. The way we do things, we're doing everything to go. I have 0 interactions with the girls, so that's really weird.
Yeah.
So it takes a little bit longer to plate it, because we have to plate everything to go, even like down to the sauce. So I had to do all little individual dishes for the sauces and all that kind of stuff. But it's been really fun. So it's been, there's good and bad to the COVID lifestyle, I guess.
Yeah. And do you make dinner when you go home then?
No, luckily I usually plan to take dinner home with whatever we're eating. So
Perfect.
we get a little bit of Kappa Delta every night. It depends though. Sometimes I get home and I'm like, yeah, I don't really want to eat pretzel chicken tonight. I've seen a lot of it. Yeah. But sometimes it's just really nice to be able to take home. My daughter is 15 and she's a recent vegetarian. So I have to make sure I do a little bit different for her. But one thing about this dish, which is really great, is you can do it gluten-free, because there's always really good gluten-free pretzels out there.
Yeah.
You can do a tofu covered with pretzels. So that's what I do for the vegetarians here. I do a pretzel tofu, and I just cut those in squares and bake them until they're nice and crunchy, and then serve it with the same sides. So it usually always works out that way. So it's and my vegetarians really enjoy that one. What really makes this dish is the sauce. So if you're going to make pretzel chicken and you don't make the sauce, it's just not the same. So go with the sauce, make extra so you have some, because you're going to want it.
And I feel like that sauce can be used on other things too. Like I was thinking I would put it on a hamburger, or maybe over some pork.
For sure.
Salad.
Yeah. We do, we use this sauce for a turkey sandwich that we do for lunch sometimes. And you can get those nice big pretzel buns.
Mm-hmm.
And so those always are really good with some smoked Gouda, and heat it up and use this as a dip. We do that one quite a bit. Yeah. There's lots of really good stuff you can do with this one for sure. But I love this one with pretzels. I just think it's such a good complements that crunchy malt flavor of the pretzel so well. So that's why we really love this one here. Yeah.
Okay. And then I have one last question while we have you. I want to soak up all your knowledge. So, we have a lot of busy families that will probably be watching. And so do you have any tips and tricks as a chef that you could offer up to really busy families that aid in creating a dinner that's healthy and appealing to all family members, but doesn't take a lot of time?
Yeah, that one's a hard one for me, because I cook really fast. Like I'm pretty fast at most of the things I'm doing. So what doesn't take me a really long time takes other people a really long time.
Yeah.
I would definitely say always go with what you know, and then add to it. Like if it's something that your family really likes, then maybe try something new with that dish. You know, we serve a lot of salads here, and like if I'm cooking chicken at the beginning of the week, I cook a lot more chicken so that I always have some cooked. And cooked chicken always freezes well, so I cut it, make sure it's ready. I can do it in portion sizes, so that I'm meal prepped kind of. I do a lot of meal prep on Sunday so that I'm ready for my week. It's just something that I've kind of started doing since COVID, and it's just helps me kind of keep a balance of, I know what I'm eating and I know what I have prepared. So meal prep something, if at the beginning of the week, make something a little bit bigger, double something, freeze it. So you know you have something to fall back on. It's all, you know, most casseroles, most of that kind of stuff always freezes well. So if you make like a chicken pot pie, make 2, and put one in the freezer. That way you have something, you know, a month later. Or if you're making a pasta dish, you know, make 2 and then freeze a big ziti, and then you have another big ziti, or whatever, you know, one of those easier things that most families fall back on.
Yep, that makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah. So we are cooking our chicken and it's almost done. I always serve this with mac and cheese and green beans because it's comfort food for our girls here at the Capadeltas and for my family. So I make our mac and cheese here. I added that recipe to our list, but you don't have to make you don't have to make mac and cheese from scratch. My daughter's just as happy with Annie's or Kraft mac and cheese. And sometimes I prefer that too. It's just one of those nostalgia things, and it goes great with this pretzel chicken. So don't feel pressured to make your mac and cheese look like mine. And as for green beans, I always buy the frozen longer beans. I kind of got away from the can bean my mom used to make me, but there's nothing wrong with those either. I usually roast my beans. So when I put my mac and cheese in and my chickens are almost done, I throw my green beans on a sheet pan and throw them in the oven with it. And by the time everything's done, it's all done together. I just toss my green beans with a little olive oil, a little salt and pepper, everything that's already out that you've used for the other 2 dishes, just to make it easier. So those are other kinds of things that could make it easier. So instead of having, you know, for me, I would much rather clean 2 pots than 5 pots. So I try really hard to make my meals as quickly and simple and in one pan as possible, or with as little dishes, because I would rather not spend my time cleaning up afterwards. So that's one of the other things I like to do. And you can throw some aluminum foil on a sheet pan and not have to clean that pan very often once you pull it out. So
it's quickly becoming my favorite dish. You're hitting all the notes with what you're telling me.
So here is this is also the art of being a chef. It just disappeared, and 2 breasts left the building. But this is what I was saying. I like to lay the green beans on the sheet pan, and then I roast them. And if you can see, some of them get a little brown and crispy. Those are always delicious. Probably the kids will say those are yuck. But you can have those, and you can give the kids the better green beans.
And you might have said it, and forgive me, but you toss those with olive oil and salt and pepper?
Olive oil, salt, pepper, and then I just put them in. And I put them in these are a frozen green bean, so I just put them straight in.
Okay.
I already put a little bit in a pan. I have some of my mac and cheese and some green beans. And what I do is I put that chicken right on top. And then the best part, if you're going to do it restaurant style, you know, we eat with our eyes first. So just take some of that and just drizzle it over, because you're going to want that sauce.
Looks so good.
And then there we go.
Oh, that's so yum. We're both salivating over here. I'm glad that we're not on camera because
So yeah, that's basically how we do these. This is how I served it tonight to the girls. I didn't put the sauce on. I did put the sauce on the side so that they could drizzle it themselves, and the stuff wouldn't get soggy. But the chicken gets really nice and crisp, and the pretzel is just such a really nice texture. I hope everyone really enjoys it.
It looks
is
delicious.
not a it's a low calorie food. It's gonna hit all the things that you want to hit when you're trying to make something for your family. Like I said, the mac and cheese is the most rich part of this, so you could do something different, but that really kind of makes it that homey feeling. And you don't have to make the mac and cheese from scratch. You can certainly go with whatever brand you normally use.
And I just want to remind everybody too, for people that access this video, the recipe is on the shared calendar of events on the Thursday slot. So anyone that's watching this video that wants to make it, the recipe is available and on that calendar of events to refer to.
Yeah.
Which I will be doing this week after watching it and seeing it.
Yeah, I would love for people to try it. And if you do come back on and you do decide to try this, if you ever have any questions, I'm sure we can figure out a way. I am on Instagram. It's KR McCarthy. You can send me a message on that one, and I can certainly answer all your calls on that one. It's just a really fun dish, and I think most people would. Most kids are going to like it. This is going for families to eat together and to be together, and I really think this is a really good one to get the kids involved. And they'll love to smash the pretzels.
Yes, I think like so many families, the limited takeout and not being able to go out to eat. I think we're all just like stuck in a rut, and it's nice to have something simple to mix it up. Something.
Yeah. Thank you. And
You're welcome.
The one thing we always like to chat with you about when we were kind of preparing for this is and I alluded to it earlier, your love for CrossFit and how you compete.
Yeah.
In the Highland Games.
So I got into CrossFit about in 2016. December 2016. And since then, I have been involved in trying to become a CrossFit coach. I am a powerlifting coach. I compete nationally in powerlifting for masters women. So that means I'm in an older class. And then I compete in Highland Games, which is more of local type things, but they're also really dear to my heart. They all usually go towards some kind of veterans philanthropy type thing. So I really love doing those too. And those are super fun. I try to stay active at least 5 or 6 times a week. And it's usually by lifting weights or doing some burpees, which I don't do very much of those, but I do lift a lot of weights. I do a lot of throwing and Highland Games style stuff. So like I said, if you go onto the Instagram, you'll be able to see some of the things the other things that I do besides cooking. I do throw a lot of my dishes up on my Instagram, but I also throw my throwing videos, which you can laugh at. Usually some are funny and some of you are going to be like, wow, what in the world is she doing? Yeah. It's just something that I've just loved to do. I love being around other people, and I love supporting other women and other men doing really strong things. And it's just a really great community to be a part of.
Well, we are so grateful for your support, and we're grateful for the Kappa Deltas. And I know my family is also going to be grateful for a new dish in the lineup because they're getting pretty sick of what I have to offer these days. So we are so grateful to you, Kristin. Thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for letting me be involved, and I really appreciate being here.
Have a restful evening.
You too.
You've been hard at work.
Have a great night, good ladies.
Okay, bye.